The demand for the software-led services, the transformational services is great. We are, in the last year, as I mentioned earlier, we have 65% of our workforce works on 55% of our revenue, and this is the part that is becoming more commoditized. Whereas 35% of our workforce works on 45% of our revenue at a much higher RPP and much stronger growth. In that area, we have seen 20% growth close to 20% growth in the last year, and we expect very strong growth this year as well. So for the new things, for the software platform for Mana, I mean, in less than 4 quarters, we have reached more than 50 clients of Mana, 150 or so engagements. It has more than doubled every quarter. So there is a very strong sense of optimism that we have in the new areas, and we have to bring automation and an operational focus in a very strong way to the commoditizing part of our business. And this is not an easy thing to do, obviously, but I'm very hopeful about the future. See, you cannot look at the optimism and the execution of the strategy from the point of view of the guidance in a particular quarter or a particular year. The long-term trajectory, the revenue per FTE has improved, the margins have held steady, and we have grown, in line with the industry, despite all of this that has been going on. So I'm actually very optimistic about the future. So I don't know why this is seen as pessimism. In terms of the 6.5 to 8.5, this is based on what we see. A lot of people have not been giving guidance and have been deferring guidance and so forth. But we thought about it. We looked at what the environment is that we see, and obviously we have learned from what has happened in the last several quarters.
In fact, that was something I was coming to. Considering you have missed guidance thrice in the last fiscal year, does this also cushion, possible risks? Is that why it's perhaps a more conservative number than what the street was expecting?
I don't want to use the word conservative or non-conservative, whatever the opposite of conservative is. But it is, obviously we have learned from what has happened in the last many quarters, and our philosophy, our approach is the same. We want to make sure that what you see is what we see, and we say it as we see it, as one of the analysts famously said. And so this is what, but obviously as our visibility improves and as the year goes ahead, look, 2 things: the new services that we have in the next generation areas for our clients, as well as the software-led services. These are things that we expect will not be affected by the traditional seasonality that we typically have in Q3 and Q4. So as we go forward in the year and as we see the evolution of the new areas, I feel very confident, and so then we'll obviously change our guidance as we see fit. But this is what we see right now.
Right. It's a landmark that you've crossed this $10 billion figure for FY17, but the $20 billion figure for 2020 looks a little unrealistic now. So, is this more of a moonshot and not an actual target that you're working towards?
Yeah, Praveen was telling me that many years ago at Infosys, we had a $10 billion aspiration by 2010, and we just crossed 10 billion. So it is something that it has been an aspiration. A moonshot is a great word for it. Obviously, it is an exceedingly difficult target to achieve now, especially with what we have seen in the last few quarters. But the important thing is that the framing of strong growth while improving margins and especially improving revenue per FTE is a great way to frame our endeavor, which is to transform the company towards a next generation company that brings AI and automation into the commoditizing work and into breakthrough new areas and become an innovative company. I think that gets captured well in the 20 billion, 30%, 80,000.
Vishal, the reason why I'm harping on this is, you say it's an aspiration, but when we spoke to Mr. Seshasai some months back, he said that it is a target that's, also linked to your compensation and trajectory going forward. So that's why I want to understand if there's also a change in the board's thinking as far as this is concerned.
And this you have to ask the board, but as I said, like many others in the industry and just ourselves in the past, we have always had ways to rally the company around specific aspirations, and this is what it has always been. And whether the board chooses to link specific payments to some of these kinds of numbers and so forth, that is a different matter. So, but we cannot mix these things as financial goals. This is clearly we want to get to 20 billion, 30% and $80,000. It will be very difficult to get there by 2020, but it is the right way to frame the strategy that we have embarked on, which is consistent profitable growth while improving revenue per FTE and productivity and achieving strong revenue growth.
What changes do you anticipate in your business model going forward, factoring in the changes in H-1B visas?
We've been working on that anyway. The more local hiring, more local training, which is a very healthy thing to do regardless, and a more embrace of technology to help better collaboration and more seamless experiences and presence so that the diverse teams across the globe can work together more efficiently and so on. So a healthy mix of local talent and a global talent is anyway a good thing. And, I think that we have to focus on innovation for our clients. We have to focus on delivering value to them, not because we get somebody on a visa that is cheaper, but because we bring in talent, whether it is local or global, that does things that nobody else can do. And if you focus on that, everything will be fine.
Final question. The important change at the board level, has happened this time. There's also a capital allocation policy that's been outlined. With these two developments in mind, do you expect the friction to come down to a large extent between the founders and the board? Because, you did mention unanticipated distractions in your statement, which I'm assuming, are distractions involving the promoters. But do you think that headwind is sort of out of the way now that the board has taken note of their concerns both on capital allocation as well as board composition?
I don't want to speculate on that. I have no idea. I mean, it has been distracting, especially if you look at this.
But has life become difficult for you reporting to two chairmen?
No, that's not the case. I mean, Ravi has been working with me. He has been on the board since before I got here. So we have worked together very closely, and I have had a tremendous relationship with Sesh and with the entire board. It's a very cohesive board. It's a very committed board to the endeavor at hand, and extremely hardworking. And the last few quarters, and especially the last quarter, has had this additional set of distractions. But that's what we deal with. I try not. It does take your attention away and your focus away, but I try not to let that distract me and distract the company.
Right. I have just one question from Twitter. A guy called Himanshu wants to know, how have your acquisitions helped in the last 2-3 years?
Panaya and Skava have both had tremendous years, the best years ever. We have had Mana, Skava, and Panaya and Edge together have grown more than 40%. Obviously, Mana and Edge are our homegrown software, and Panaya and Skava are acquired. So it's a great mix, and this is what we expect to see. We acquired the talent from a small company called Skytree, which had 8 PhDs in machine learning, and that has become a part of the Mana platform. So we'll continue to do things like.
Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/ETNow, and don't forget to click the like button. You can also follow us on Twitter at ETNowLive. To stay updated with all our programming, hit the subscribe button on our YouTube channel by logging on to youtube.com/ETNow.